Hi, I'm James from J Cycles. Today we're going to have a look at the new Pinarello Dogma. This is the 2025 model year bicycle, and we're going to compare it to the previous generation. We're at a little bit of a point now where the cycle industry has made big leaps into technology and development, and it's kind of almost plateauing, so where the jumps in technology going forward and innovation are becoming finer. So the difference between these two bikes, there is quite a lot of difference between these two bikes. On the surface it looks very similar, but actually when you look into it, there is some big differences. This is the 2025 Luxor Red Gold frame. There is some key kind of visual differences that probably not that obvious when you're looking at the kind of stock photos, but the frame is considerably thinner on the back of the down tube. So the down tube is considerably thinner than the previous model. They've done quite a lot of work on the head tube as well. This is also really quite a lot thinner. That makes it more aerodynamic. One of the key features that they've added on is much more carbon around this area. That makes it stiffer in the bottom bracket area, and that can making that pedal efficiency much better. Also on this side of the frame, if you look at where the through axles go, they've covered the end of the through axles, makes it look much neater on the drive side of the bike. It's the same on the rear, so you don't have this kind of hole where the end of the through axle goes in. So visually, that does add quite a nice effect to it. The seat post and the seat clamping system is also quite a lot different. We'll take a look at the 2023 version, but there was a wedge in here that was susceptible to grit and mud. That's now gone, so it makes it much neater as well. So there are your key features. What you don't want to do is just reel off the kind of tech specs and the white paper that we get from the brand, because that will just be boring. If we look at actual tangible differences and the things that you will notice, this might be if you're looking at, if you've got a previous generation Dogma and you're wanting to really see if there is a difference, or if you've come in from another brand and then actually thinking, well, the previous model is still available, it might be a bit cheaper in price, and kind of making that decision whether you go for the newer version or the older version. But generally, if you look at the kind of front end of the bike, so kind of head on, obviously this is the key area for all these manufacturers. This is where you can really kind of move the dial on aerodynamics, and you can kind of see here there is a big difference between the two. These bikes are pretty much the same size. One's a 53, one's a 54, so they're not too different in actual size, but there is a huge difference in how the bike looks, and that means that they make a big difference on aerodynamics. So yeah, basically much thinner. So basically there's less bike hitting taking that wind, which makes it more aerodynamic naturally, but also kind of moving the carbon to areas that make a difference in terms of aerodynamics and stiffness. All of these new bikes, anything that the manufacturers are kind of working on is basically to make it lighter and stiffer. They're the two kind of main areas that you're going to see between buying a Pinarello Dogma from 10 years ago to buying one now. It's basically stiffer and lighter. So going into a bit more of the detail and the aesthetics of the bike, you can see here around the crown race, they've reduced the amount of space here, so it's much neater around the bottom between the fork and the bottom of the frame. We've also got this spacer here, so this is the space that everyone needs to run. That basically means that you can run the bike more slammed. So if you're running it slammed, it's actually lower down than it was previously. You can see this spacer here is probably a couple of mil higher than what this one is, which means, like I say, if you're running the bike slammed, it's lower than you can do that lower than it previously was. The headset and the front end of this bike is completely new as well, so it's completely different. So you can't cross over headset bearings because they've changed all of that as well. So just in the detail on the front end, it's much cleaner, much nicer, and once these bikes are built up, they look really good. Just looking at some further details towards the back end of the frame and the seat post. Obviously, we discussed the seat clamp is completely new, completely redesigned. It does still tighten up from the back, but there is less hardware in there. The seat clamp, although it's 3D printed titanium on the previous generation, it's the same here, but it's lighter. You also get some little wood pegs that you can use when you're putting your IKEA furniture together, which is quite nice. That is literally what they're from. It is. They've moved the Di2 port, and I think that's to kind of bring it in line with the new 12-speed cable routing system. So they've moved that kind of forward in the seat tube there, which is quite handy. The bottom brackets are still Italian threaded bottom brackets. It works. You don't get any creaking, but yeah, basically you can use the same bottom bracket, as previous. There isn't many brands that do Italian threaded bottom brackets anymore, but yeah, it's Italian threaded bottom bracket. So now looking at the rear end of the bike, so obviously with this covering of the axle, of the through axle system, the hanger has had to change with that. Previously it was a two-piece hanger, so you had the hanger, the rail hanger itself, and then you had a piece that attached to, and it kind of sandwiched it in. Now it's a one-piece hanger. The benefits of this, and people who use clutch derailleurs with that system will know, sometimes with the chain tension, it did make it quite difficult to. It basically moved the hanger. It could potentially move the hanger to make when you took the wheel in and out and made any adjustments to the derailleur. So that's not going to happen now. It's completely fixed and looks much neater, and I think would save some. That's what saves the weight as well. With the new frame comes the new bar. This is the most Talon ultra fast bar. It's the only bar that you can use with the new Dogma. So obviously it's carbon, one piece. They've completely redesigned this. It doesn't have a plate underneath anymore. So previously you had a big plate under here that you could take off and assist in cable routing. Now that's not there anymore. The geometry of the bar has completely changed as well. So to kind of align with modern needs of riders, there is a lot narrower options. So you're starting at a 36 centre to centre bar with this one, which is good for the racers out there, the guys with who want to go super aero. It has got a flare on the bar as well, so it's slightly wider on the drops than it is on the tops. But yeah, starting from 36 centre to centre on the top of the bar, super narrow. You've also got, I believe, a 140 stem option that is available with some different configurations of width. So yeah, just in terms of previously, there was an aluminium spacer that you had to fit in the steerer to allow the cables to run through there and not rub the steerer. Now that's all gone. The cables go directly into the bottom of the bar there and don't impede the steerer at all. So much neater, much nicer looking bar as well. Yeah, there we go. Fausto's got his fucking design flex on the fucking fork as well.
Come on, I like that.
Bits that you don't see but that do make a difference is the fork. The fork design is completely different. This is an oval design, so hopefully you shouldn't have any issue in aligning the stem, because there is nothing more annoying, let's face it, than having a misaligned stem. What that means is you've got a completely redesigned fork bung, so again, not a crossover component. As we mentioned earlier in the video, your crown race, there isn't an aluminium crown race anymore. The crown race is built into the fork, just directly onto carbon. Also, again, with the redesigned fork means a redesigned expander, bearing expander, much neater, much lighter as well. That's actually 3D printed, looks like titanium there as well. also should be a lot easier for assembly, better for the mechanics out there as well. So yeah, in terms of the fork, completely new, completely redesigned, makes it much easier to work on, much easier to line your steer up, and also lighter and stiffer. The cost on these frame sets is £5,500, and then the bar, which you have to use, is $850. So you're looking at a relatively big investment for the frame and bar. However, that's kind of in line with a lot of the other brands now. You know, a top-end superbike is going to set you back around about £12,000 for a full build. Maybe even more, depending if you want to go really spenny. Colours. These are the main colours in the range. So you've got the original black on black. Black on black is basically matte, a mix of matte and gloss top tube, gloss logos, and gloss kind of rear lower end of the bike. Looks absolutely beautiful. You've then got the crystal white. Crystal white is probably one of the most popular, most requested bike that we get. It's a full gloss model this year. You've got black on the back of the kind of down tube here, on the inside of the fork, and on the insides of the rear triangle. That'll make it much easier to clean, to be honest with you, much easier to kind of maintain going forward. Then you've got the two Luxter colours. Luxter red gold, which is absolutely stunning. That was a Olympic kind of special edition, but they are keeping that in the range for at least for the foreseeable. And then you've got the Luxter blue. Luxter blue is like a kind of a flip colour, so it's kind of a metallic-y kind of purple blue. Really, really nice looking bike. I must say the colours for this launch are absolutely stunning. They've done a lot of work on the colours and they look absolutely great. You know, Luxter red gold is the one that your wife wants you to have, but you'll probably go for a white. Pinarello Dogma range. They're all called Dogma. We've got the F, we've got the X, and then the new F as well. There's a lot going on, and there's more here than your local dog zone. So what's the difference? So your Dogma F, original Dogma F, was released a few years ago, and that will stay in the range for the foreseeable future. These are a little bit more cost effective. They're out there for the racer out there. They're a fast kind of cafe bike. Suits a lot of people. The X, introduced last year, is a more endurance spec bike. Some people are using these as gravel bikes as well, but yeah, this is more an endurance spec bike. What that means is the geometry is more relaxed, so it's quite frankly easier to ride, and you can ride it for longer without it shaking your feelings out. That's basically the top and bottom of it. So, if you're looking at an endurance bike, if you do big mileage, you're not as flexible as you maybe once were, the X is worth considering. The new 2025 F is you want to spend big money, you want a super bike, and you like going fast. Thank you for watching. Let us know which colour you like the best in the comments below.